Hi all, this is Meyleen Velasquez. I am a licensed clinical social worker and a registered play therapist. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about limit setting. So limit setting is a set of strategies that really helps families to move away from a punishing stance into a stance of collaboration. The basics of limit setting are validating what the child might be feeling, setting the limit, and providing an alternative. When you validate what the child is feeling, you're going to provide an actual word that represents what the child might be feeling. So as opposed to asking, why are you mad? Why are you crying? I find that a lot of the caregivers that I work with usually have a really good idea as to what might be happening for the child, even as frustrating as it might be. An example of this might be, you're really mad I told you you couldn't throw that toy. Or you're really mad I told you we couldn't go out. Or you're really frustrated I can't sit right now to play. When we validate, it really helps us to feel heard and understood. When you limit set, you're going to specifically name the behavior that's happening. So if a child is mad because it's bath time, and as a consequence of them being mad, they hit you, you're going to set the limit by stating, I am not for hitting. If a child was throwing a toy, and maybe you told them not to throw the toy, and then they got really mad, you're going to set the limit by stating, toys are not for throwing, or toys are not for kicking, or toys are not for breaking, or walls are not for drawing, or people are not for hitting, people are not for biting. And then you're going to provide an alternative. An alternative is really, really important because children, especially if we're thinking about younger children, don't really have that capacity to feel the emotion that they're feeling, right? So if they're mad, and then to think through consequences and options. So they need a little bit of support getting there because of brain development. When we understand that, it can make it easier to then say, you can throw this soft toy. You can punch that pillow. You can punch a teddy bear. You can kick the ball. You can say, I'm mad. Importantly, if we want them to verbalize a feeling, it helps if we name the feeling, right? Saying, you can say, I'm mad. You can say, I'm sad. You can say, I don't like that. As opposed to saying, use your words. Because I may not necessarily have the words in that moment. Because sometimes even us as adults, right, with a fully developed brain, we don't have the right words when we're really feeling frustrated or flustered or mad because of something that happened. So we're really helping caregivers to collaborate with children with that framework of validating, right, and empathizing with the child, kind of being able to sit with them and helping the child to understand what it is that they're feeling. We're going to be really clear about the limit and moving away from don't throw the toy, don't kick me, don't bite people, to toys are not for breaking, people are not for biting, the couch is not for cutting, or whatever else might be showing up. And then we're going to provide an alternative. Ideally, in the alternative, you give one thing. If you feel like it might be appropriate, you can give two. But don't give too many alternatives, otherwise it just becomes confusing and overwhelming. And I always tell caregivers, when you're giving an alternative, make sure it's an alternative that they feel comfortable with. So sometimes I might say, right, you can kick the pillow. But if the caregiver is really not okay with that, right, then we want to help to partner with them to come up with an alternative that's going to work for the family, as opposed to creating more conflict. Now, we keep in mind that in order for a caregiver to do this, they have to first check in with themselves. Helping the caregiver to come to terms with the fact that it's going to be more effective for them to say, you know what, just sit on the TV for 5 more minutes. I just need to go take a deep breath and then we'll talk. Then to go in, right, and maybe pull the child away, or maybe like turn off the TV, right, and there might be times for that you might discuss with your clients, but we want to prevent that being the first thing that families are going to, because if they go to that, right, the levels of frustration are going to go pretty high, and then there's not going to be a lot more that they can do. So you really want to be able to help them to think about solutions together and solutions that are connecting. I like the word discipline over punishment, but I'm also very well aware that for me and for many of the people that I work with, the word discipline has a little bit of a negative connotation, because sometimes discipline meant physical abuse in some household, right? For some caregivers, maybe for some children. Maybe it meant being yelled or belittled. So check with your client to see what words they feel more comfortable with, but I really like limit setting. And you want to help the family to keep in mind to intervene when the concern happens, as opposed to intervening maybe 10 minutes later when now frustrations are higher. Another thing that you want to kind of reinforce with caregivers is the idea of consistency. So if this is a framework that they want to use, then they want to be able to practice it each time, right? And you can work on that with your clients. Maybe, you can have the role play with a parent where you're the child and then you're the parent, right? And you're helping them to come up with different scenarios. I find that for some of my clients it's useful if they take notes. Because limit setting has 3 parts, and it could be easy to forget all those parts, and I think that they're all important. And then that it's also okay to have some flexibility within the framework, as long as it works for the family, and I think as long as it validates what the child is feeling. So limit setting is a strategy that you can use with your families when they're having some behavioral concerns here and there, and you want to give them some ideas to either tweak or completely shift their framework for managing difficult behavior. I hope that this is useful and helpful to your practice. If there's anything else that you would like to hear, please let me know. Thank you.